First of all, I'd like to apologize. I had a morning walk in Jelutong Market with the Chief Minister. I thought I was early, but he was earlier than me. So walked about, he was still doing his round when I sneaked off. And I arrived at the hotel, the long queue of barricades made of cars. There were police. I thought that was to protect for my safety. And then I saw ambulance. Oh, I thought that's for within. I think the entire entourage from Putrajaya has taken over the hotel. So there was a long queue, a further delay of several minutes. But whatever it is, I have to extend my apology for being late, for being caught in this such an embarrassing situation. I've earned over the years good reputation for being punctual, but I failed this time. So sorry. I'm going to be very brief. Basically, this is the second workshop that we have been holding since November the 8th. We had the opportunity of hosting the first workshop relating to fiber to the homes, relating to the next generation network, that we need to share information. The first round of the workshop, we were targeting at the real estate developers. But this round, as we moved along, as we worked together with our common project, with our parent company, PDC, and the subsidiaries, sister companies, PDC Consulting and PDC Property in Batu Kawan, we realized that the value chain circulating around next generation network, as well as fiber to the premises solutions, were not being shared well enough. And then first of all, when it comes to the responsibilities of the real estate developers, for example, you have to go through multiple agencies to get their ulasan before your building plan can be approved. You go to MCMC, you go to even TNB, you go to even Bomba. But there's one particular agency when it comes to the infrastructure for telecommunications, and that's where you are stuck. All of us are stuck. All of us are stuck because the information is not well imparted, it's not well shared. And then most of us, contributions from even the industry regulator itself, also the professional communities involved in the real estate development community, tend to say that you still have to get your building plans approved by Telekom Malaysia. That is something that has died in the 1980s. All of us are caught in the 1980 paradigm. We have to break free from that old day paradigm. That's why we're organizing this workshop, targeting at the communities from within, a very close community, that is the regulators who may not have been engaging well to impart the new paradigm that had become something that the industry practiced in the last 12 years or so. And we are targeting friends, comrades, colleagues from the local council, from GKR, who are the two key agencies who will issue permits for the trenching of the telecommunication infrastructure, especially network that is based on a fiber optics solution. That's one. And we're also inviting some guests from the various agencies, also from the mainland, for example, because all the planning are centered around the Penang Island, that is considered as the premier zone for development and also the world-class infrastructure. But we also have to take care of this Seberang Perai. So that is something that we had in mind, that we have this very closed door, cozy setting so that all of us can share. And we are putting together all this at the effort of my team at PDC Telco. And the PDC, the entire management, and as well as the board of directors from PDC Telco will pool a lot of resources to organize such workshop for the purpose of sharing information, for the purpose of re-educating the communities that are related to telecommunication infrastructure, and a lot more. We are going to share with you also the various prevailing guidelines that have been put in place by the government at the federal level. And these are the kind of things that we use as a point of reference so that we can move forward towards this implementation of a next generation network and so on. So I try to be a bit naughty. So the theme, even though it says in-house training, NGN, FTTH workshop, but my slide will say TM is the industry regulator. Is that what you think? And I thought that this is something that is long gone and done. But somehow, let me kickstart with this, it's like a thunderbolt, saying that we are here. Banyak cerita dongeng mengenai Telekom Malaysia, and I'm not an apologist, so there's no apologies intended. But I want to say, Telekom Malaysia is a hindrance towards all of us moving towards fiber optics, and I'm going to put all these facts to you. Now, this workshop, it is basically to lead us down the history, to talk about who Telekom Malaysia is, to give you a backgrounder, and then my colleagues will take over into other details. Barangkali saya gunakan bahasa Inggeris sebab banyak yang slide yang saya buat ialah presentation untuk banyak tempat yang menggunakan banyak tempat di arena cuma saja terpaksa saya sediakan slide saya dalam bahasa Inggeris. Tapi bagaimanapun, I think this is some very simple English. Now, Malaysia had this Telecommunications Department of Malaya, 1946, before Merdeka. It evolved. After Merdeka, we have at the federal level we have this agency called Jabatan Telekom Malaysia ataupun JTM. JTM itu ada dua cabang, two wings. One is the regulatory of sorts, even though the regulatory framework was not that well defined at that time, because the technology has been evolving and we are set or beset with a lot of incumbents legacy. So we have Jabatan Telekom Malaysia formed to take care of, to integrate also the infrastructure and the regulatory affairs involving Sabah and Sarawak. That's more so because Malaysia came into being as a country in 1963. So 1987, the federal level decided that Jabatan Telekom Malaysia harus dipecahkan kepada dua. So it was split into two arms. One is the regulatory arm, and the name still remains as Jabatan Telekom Malaysia. Whereas the commercial arm, with all the ducts, with all the copper networks, even the transmission towers, all the poles and so on, all went into the commercial arm, free of charge, kepada satu syarikat yang dinamakan Syarikat Telekom Malaysia Berhad, STMB, if you can still remember. So that STMB became the corporatized business entity that takes care of direct engagement with the customers. And then we go down more history. 1991, STMB was rebranded. 1991 is the advent of more cellular services from Atur, if you remember, 011, I think dia punya telefon set lebih besar daripada batu bata dan sebagainya. That was history, 1991. So STMB was rebranded into Telekom Malaysia, or what we have TM today. But the industry evolves. Liberalizations has taken place not only in Malaysia but in many parts of the world. So with these challenges, the old legacy of regulatory and also single operator environment was drastically changed. So there was a new act introduced very powerful act, but it's also a very visionary act. 1998, Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. It was implemented. This is where I started to get involved. Under the Communication and Multimedia Act, for example, there were several new directions taken, whereby all forms of telecommunication services in Malaysia were put under a new kind of licensing regime. Because we saw that telecommunication is no longer the good old telephones, what we call the telephone set. Fax has come in much earlier than 1998. You have also cellular services. You also have people like Astro. So we have been seeing that the telecommunication platform has converged with many other forms of services. No matter it's satellite, no matter it's even simple SMS, all have come in. So because of that, it was an era of convergence. All come into one common platform, sharing and also leveraging on the telecommunications platform or infrastructure. But the main thing does not change. That is, to connect from point A to point B, after you have, if you are not depending on a network of copper wires, then it will be through transmission by satellite or through transmission by microwave. So all these were happening in such a way that if you don't have an act that is skewed on convergence, then the whole industry will become very uncoordinated, and there will be a lot of wastage when it comes to building resources, when it comes to building infrastructure. So this act came into being, and under this act there were 4 forums that became mandatory vehicles to help implement this act to its efficiency. One forum was in charge of consumer interest, so it's called Consumer Forum. One is in charge of content. You do not want to have undesirable content to be transmitted through the telecommunication platform and also through the various modes of solution. For example, you do not want pornographic materials, seditious materials, religiously, racially sensitive content to be transmitted unchecked through the television, through the internet, and right down through the mobile phone. Now, all of us have, our life, daily life, kita kena tengok tiga jenis cermin. Cermin yang kecil, handphone, smartphone. Cermin yang besar sikit, the pads, the iPads or the they call, because of this Samsung Notes besar sangat, besar daripada phone yang biasa, campur diacukan dengan tablets, so it becomes phablets. Phone and tablet phablets. So that is satu istilah yang bagus. Then you have a bigger screen, that is the screen on your notebook, 11 inch, 13 inch, some as big as 17 inch. But I do not know how people carry 17-inch notebook, from office to office. Then you go back home, you have another screen, that is the big LCD screen to watch movies, EPL and so on. So kita ni setiap hari tu kita tengok cermin saja lah. Oh, there's one more for the ladies perhaps, for your makeup as well. So there are so many screens. So this act is basically to take care of the content through the content forums. It became self-regulatory. And the third one is, of course, because of new technologies coming in, you need to have an equitable platform for technical standards. So you have also the Malaysian Technical Standards Forum, and there's another one is to promote healthy competition. So you have Access Forum. So all these 4, I was involved in 2 forums. Consumer forums, I was the founding secretary for Consumer Forum, and I was also one of the code writing parties involved in writing the consumer code for telecommunication for CMA 1998. I was also involved in the writing of the content code together with a lot of content providers, all forms, from advertising to films to TV dramas and so on, and even the framework for internet content. Technical Forum was again monopolized by Telecom Malaysia, and our forums were registered as society, registered with ROS, but the one that was driven by Telecom Malaysia through Malaysian Technical Standard Forum was registered as a Sendirian Berhad. So it's kind of different thing. And then we have an access forum. Telecom Malaysia make a big part, take a big role in this forum again to ensure that their interest is protected, but with all kinds of restriction in terms of predatory pricing as well as anti-competitive pricing framework. So they still became the TICO, but there are certain ways to dismantle them. One of the ways to dismantle this incumbency behind the big giant of Telecom Malaysia had always been the market forces. The market forces blowing from overseas into Malaysia that we have to adopt, because the world of internet means we have to interconnect with all domains of content, of economic activities and so on to one common platform. So that is where it is. With the 1998 Communication Multimedia Act, SKMM was formed. MCMC, the Malaysian Communication Multimedia Commission ataupun Suruhanjaya Komunikasi dan Multimedia Malaysia telah pun ditubuhkan 1998. But it took some months so that this regime, the stranglehold on authority over standards, over practices can be transferred into real implementation model. So it took many months before SKMM can take over. Tan Sri Noraiza, Puan Noraiza, became the first chairman of MCMC. There have been many faces, but the key words around 1998, 1999 was that number one, it is self-regulatory, the framework for regulation. Self-regulatory, that means we have a code, it is a liberalized code. So long as you operate within the confines of the code, you are all right. Nobody is going to disturb you. Nobody is going to put a hindrance towards your expansion plan for your market engagement and so on. Self-regulatory was the first word. The second word was convergence. Unfortunately, as we get more convergent, but a lot of implementation became more divergent. So we don't have that kind of the spirit of the Communication Multimedia Act then. That's my personal view. It can be it can be argued, right? But that I hold on to this view that the word divergence has overtaken the word convergence for our multimedia things. But whatever it is, 1999 March, I think it was March 31st. I still remember Dato' Hud Parman, who was the last Secretary General, I think, of KSU, DG, Director General for Jabatan Telekom. They hosted a farewell. And that was the day, March 31st, 1999, JTM became history. So kalau ada siapa-siapa lagi yang nak kata kita punya housing plan must be approved by JTM, it died 1999. 1999, 2009, 10 tahun. 2009 sekarang dah 13, dapat 14 tahun. Kita masih berpegang, terkongkong dengan paradigma yang lama. There's no more JTM. I want to announce it. You Google for the fact JTM was disbanded 1999. Jadi kalau ada pegawai daripada SKMM kata kita kena ada JTM punya endorsement, aduh, tak tahulah apa saya nak cakap. But whatever it is, when it comes to the regulatory role, it is being upheld by MCMC, SKMM. SKMM became the de facto industry regulator, beginning supposed to have begun 1998, but some time was taken to have a seamless takeover. Then it was 1999 that it became a real implementation. So what happened? I mentioned briefly that with the introduction of 1998 Communication and Multimedia Act, it came non-regulatory, the aspiration for non-regulatory as well as convergent platform, converging all technologies, all services, applications together. So all players involved in whether it's the upstream or the downstream of the telecommunication industries were classified into 4 main categories of players which must be licensed. Telecommunications industry, to a certain degree, even though we have liberalized, but we are still very much regulated by coded rules and regulation. And this had become the 4 key categories of service providers recognized and must be licensed by SKMM. All telecommunication related players must be licensed in any one or more than one of the categories. Category 1, network facilities provider, or what we call the NFP. PDC Telco provides towers, and later on we are going to provide ducts underground. So we are network facilities provider. Our license was given to 2005, still valid. And the second category is network services provider. This is where passing through the facilities provided by the NFP, the services providers who provide you cellular, fixed line, fax, internet, and even the TV over the internet are provided by all this licensed category that is called Network Services Provider, NSP. There was ada satu ganjil. When Astro was given a license to operate satellite-based broadcasting, they stood alone because they came into being 1995. So the act, the law hasn't come in. So they had a special, different kind of licensing condition which is not classified under this. But the industry has pressured that Astro should not be an exemption. They were forced to embrace either one of these, so that they will be regulated under one of this framework, legal framework. So they became a network facilities as well as network services providers in a different form. So the different form is called CASP, Content Application Services Provider. All TV stations, private TV stations, became the first breed of CASP network, these providers, a licensed player, except RTM1, RTM2, at one point, because they are considered as a government machinery. But somehow they are still airing pictures from Fox Studio and from the Hollywood, so they will somehow become a regulatory candidate under CASP. Whereas Astro had already complied. So Astro is considered as a CASP. So are radio stations. Radio stations are also CASP. Now the top 3 categories are individual licenses. One license may differ from the other. Conditions given to one NFP may differ to conditions given to another NFP. So they are called individual licenses. Whereas there is a class license, category, and application services provider are for those more simple. I just make it simple for everybody to understand, is that anybody can jump on bandwagon. You just pay 250,000 licensing fee. Is that it? Or 25? 2005. or it has come down. You know, you have 2005, you park a license fee with SKMM, you get a license, ASP. So this is a lower one, it's a class license. Anybody who fulfill the class licensing conditions, you get a license. Who are these? These are the people who send you SMS messages, you know, announcement, including all those the spam SMS as well. So they come in through the 5-digit code. These are the application service providers. Some have been operating ASP services without valid licenses too. So there are so many NFPs, NSPs. If you want to go to this MCMC website or SKMM website, there's so many. Under NFP, NSP, you don't see one name. You don't see Telekom Malaysia alone. You see hundreds. The last count was 163 NSPs. And there are many more, NFP and so on. So many peers. They are involved in different kind of service provisioning. For example, when it comes to backhaul, where you connect from one point to another and then linked to the border router and the international gateway, you have these big backhaul players like Time Telecom, Telekom Malaysia, Fibercom, Fiber Rail, for example. Now, Fibercom is one of the key players in the backhaul arena, whereby it is a 30% shareholding by Telekom Malaysia. As you can see, perhaps with the exception of Time Telecom, Telekom Malaysia is involved in Fibercom.